Hello, poetry friends. How are you all doing today? I hope you're doing really well. I was really excited to see all your poems that were posted from our last class, our last lesson. You all did amazing. I was proud of each and every one of those poems. You guys did super, super great job, so keep up the good work. One of the nice things about studying poetry from home is that you can get super cozy. So today I've got my tea. So if you want to pause and ask your parents for permission, maybe you could get a healthy snack or a nice warm drink for our poetry time today. I also have my super cozy blanket, which just makes poetry even better, I think. If you have a little coziness, just makes poetry that much better. So today we're going to get started just like we did last week. We're going to do our poem of the day, and we're going to start that out with our poetry reflection questions. So your questions for this week's poem are: do you think this poem was well written? Why or why not? Next, what is the rhyming pattern of this poem? And last, what are 4 adjectives you would use to describe this poem? If you don't remember what an adjective is, that's okay. It's just a word that describes. So, for example, some adjectives are creative, or big, or colorful, or funny, or confusing. So those are words that are adjectives. So I want you to be thinking about those reflection questions while I read this poem to you so that you'll be ready to answer them at the end of the poem. All right, our poem of the day today is called My Shadow, and it's written by Peter Woolveridge. All right. I quite often look at my shadow. I like how it follows me round and does all the same things that I do without ever making a sound. It hides when the weather is cloudy, but I always know it's quite near, for later, as soon as the sun shines, my shadow is bound to appear. I've noticed sometimes in the evening, while watching the sun going down, my shadow gets all tired and lazy and stretches right out on the ground. But then when it comes to my bedtime, I lie down and switch off the light. My eyes close. I can't help but wonder where shadows like mine go at night. Perhaps it meets with other shadows, sits down and tells them about me, the silly things that I've been doing, and hears its friends laughing with glee. But when I awake in the morning, I'm always delighted to see, as soon as I draw back the curtains, my shadow's there, waiting for me. Thought that was such a nice poem. My Shadow by Peter Woolveridge. All right. So I hope you enjoyed that also. And we will get right into our projects for this lesson. We have 2 projects today. The first one we'll go ahead and look at is a preposition poem. So I will have files for both of our projects. Both of them have worksheets, and I will attach both of them to our Facebook group so that your parents can print them out or have them for you to look at on your computer if you would like. So the preposition poem. In a preposition poem, each line begins with a preposition. Shocking. Lines are usually short, containing just 2 to 4 words. A preposition poem can be about anything, and it does not need to rhyme. So, if you're thinking to yourself right now, I don't even remember what a preposition is. I know I learned it, but I can't remember. No worries, because your worksheet has a list of prepositions for you. Super handy. So, I'm going to read an example to you, and I want you to really think through each line that I read. You can even close your eyes while I read it to you, and I want you to try to paint a picture in your mind's eye of what the writer of this poem is seeing or viewing with each line, okay? So let's read this poem. With snorkel and fins, into the water, under the waves, among the fish, over there, beside a rock, toward me it swims, without fear. But I swim away, up to the surface, onto the dock, above the shark, out of danger, until next time. So that's a fun, short little preposition poem. And I don't know about you, but when I read this poem, I don't even have to close my eyes. But even just reading it line by line, I can see the snorkel, I can see the fins, I can see the water, I can see the swimmer, I can see the fish, I can kind of have this picture painted in my mind. I can see the shark, I can see the dock. So that is my challenge to you with this poem. When you write your preposition poem, I'd really like you to use strong imagery to try to paint that same kind of a picture, so that when the reader of your poem reads it, they'll be able to see a similar kind of picture in their mind's eye. Whatever it is that you're kind of imagining or seeing or viewing when you're writing the poem, I would like it to translate to the reader also. Hope that makes sense. So, on your worksheet, there's a little space for you to write your own preposition poem, and it says to make it at least 8 lines long, and I would really like you to try to do that. Might be a challenge for some. Others of you will make it 20 lines long, which is great and perfect for each and every one. No worries how long it is, but do try to do at least 8 lines long. And then there's a space over here if you would like to illustrate your poem. It'd be really cool to see illustrations go along with those. Okay, so for the preposition poem, because it can be about anything at all, I thought it would be fun to do topics again. Last week we did the topics drawn out of the bucket, and I thought that was really fun. So I thought, though, I'd do something a little different. So I got the headbands cards out again, because they have like the most random ideas, and I think that they make very interesting and fun poems. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of fan these out a little bit and hold them up where I can't see them either, and I'll draw topics for all of you guys. Again, if you're watching this and you're not in poetry class this semester, you can choose any of these topics, or you can choose one of your own. And for the kiddos who are in the poetry class, again, just like last week, if I draw a topic for you and you're like, no way, I'm not writing about that, it's fine. You can write about whatever you want. But if you want the challenge, or if you just need help thinking of topics, or if you like a topic that I chose for somebody else, you're welcome to use that as well. So let's go ahead and get started. First on my list this week is Kiara. So let's see. Elevator. So you could write, ooh, that would be a really good poem to write for use of prepositions. So elevator. All right. Miss Abigail. Beach. And Nola, let's see what we get for you. An umbrella. Esther, a carrot. Who is next? Miss Cam, corn. A lot of food. Lucy, you're next. Let's do this one. Trampoline. That'd be a good one for prepositions also. Okay, Nate is next. Fisherman. Nice. Peyton. Surfer. I was trying to read it backwards. Mr. Zeb. Robot. And Beckham. A garden. Lovely. Okay, so you guys can use those topics if you'd like, or you can write them about anything else that you wanted. All right, so that pretty much sums up our preposition poem. Again, I would love to see them if you guys work on them, if you write a poem or illustrate, and if you have your parents' permission, I would love to see what you come up with. All right, our last project for today is another short poem, and I think it's a really fun poem to write. They are repeated poems. So I will read this with you. All right. Often a line or phrase is repeated several times in a poem. In a repeated poem, the first part of each line is the same. These poems can be serious or they can be funny, and I know many of you love to be funny. They can rhyme or not rhyme. And you could also add a twist to the poem by not using the repeated phrase for the very last line. So, we have some repeated poem ideas over here. So, your poems could start with, I wonder why. Or the lines could all start with, I wonder why. Or, I wish I could. Today I will. Now I know. My mother says, and so on. But I'd like to read the example to you. So the repeated poem idea that they chose for their example is Never Will I. And they chose for theirs to rhyme. Yours does not have to, but it can if you'd like. All right, so here's the example. Never will I go to Mars. Never will I dine on cars. Never will I pet a bear. Never will I cut my hair. Never will I touch the sky. Never will I learn to fly. Never will I serve goats tea. Never will I ride a bee. Never will I ask the time. Never will I end this rhyme. All right, so that's the repeated poem. Super fun, super easy. I know you guys will come up with very funny ideas and very creative ideas, and I would love to see those too. A couple things before we end our lesson. Or actually just, I think I covered it all except one last thing, which is very important. So the content with this lesson is the information from week 8 from our class, which means that we only have one more lesson before our final class. And I know many of you have been asking your parents because they told me, and some of you are wondering, and thinking about our last day of class, because on our first day of class and our second day of class and our 6th day of class, we talked about our party. And I want to let you know, our party is on. We are going to have our party. It might be a little creative and it might not be exactly the way that we originally had planned to have it, but we're still going to have it. And it's something that I know you guys have worked hard for and that you are looking forward to. And I am looking forward to it as well, and we're going to do it. Okay, so keep working on whatever your project was, whatever poem. And remember, so the poem that I want you guys to be prepared to share, it can be an original work. It can be something that we did in class that you hadn't read yet, or it can be something that you were inspired by a lesson. Maybe you made a blackout poem that you didn't show the class and you thought was really awesome and you wanted to share. That's great. Or it cannot be any of your work at all. It can just be a poem that you really love. I know Miss Nola has published a poem and she might want to share that with us. Maybe others of you have published poems, or you've written poems in the past that you thought were really interesting or fun or important or special or heartfelt and you wanted to share with us. But I want you all to continue working on whatever it is. If it's just a poem that somebody else wrote that you really liked, have it ready. And if it's a poem that you are working on, continue to work on that and have that ready. And I will have further instructions and further details for your parents about some creative thoughts that I have for how we can still have our party, but we are still having it, so continue to look forward to that. I hope you guys have enjoyed this lesson, and I will look so very much forward to seeing the work that you do with our preposition poems and our repeated poems. You guys have a great rest of the day. Bye.